I think you may be right.
Well, you just you can't agree
Yeah.
with me if you just said it was going to be something else.
I said you may be right.
All
In
right,
the
hedging
end,
hedging your
you
bets.
may be.
You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is James, joined as ever by my friend Steve. And this episode, it is our final predictions for the Oscars.
Hey, but before we hit those predictions, if you haven't subscribed, it'd be a great favor to us if you did so. Just go ahead and hit that button. And just as a reminder, Deep Dive Movie Reviews does contain spoilers. I don't know how many spoilers we're going to reveal in our predictions, James, but you never know what might come out.
Hopefully a lot, because we're going to ruin the Oscars by getting them all right ahead of time. But that
That's
remains
it.
to be seen.
That's it.
So the 23 categories, everybody I think knows what's in contention, but we will probably name drop as we go along. But let's get into it in completely random order. Best Sound nominees: All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick. Steve, where do you go on this?
I'm going to say All Quiet on the Western Front. I think there's some love for this film that's not going to get, they're not going to win in some other categories that I think possibly they should have a little more contention in. So I think there's going to be some desire to give some technical achievements. It's not a given. I mean, the Top Gun Maverick is there. Avatar: Way of Water. I mean, there's some heavy competition in this category, but I'm going with All Quiet on the Western Front.
Okay, I'm actually going to go with Top Gun Maverick on this one. I think there's a few of the top technical categories where it's going to just edge out Avatar: The Way of Water, and I see those two as sort of the front runners, if you like, in a lot of these major technical categories. And I think this one is one that Top Gun Maverick can fly away with, shall we say?
I think you may be right.
Well, you just you can't agree
Yeah.
with me if you just said it was going to be something else.
I said you may be right.
All
In
right,
the end,
hedging your
you
bets.
may be.
But yes, okay. All right, I'll take it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Best original score. The nominees: All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans.
Interesting. I am going to go. I just have such a love for Banshees of Inisherin, and I love the music from that. Whether it's going to take the original score, I don't know, but I'm gonna go with Banshees of Inisherin.
This is one of the ones where I'm really struggling to pick anybody, and there's a lot of love for John Williams. Giving him another Oscar because I think it would break a record if they did, and but I don't see it. I don't see the love for the Fabelmans this year. I
I
really
don't see it
don't.
either. No.
So I'm going to actually go with All Quiet on the Western Front for this one. Just
Very good.
I don't have
Very
much
good.
logic behind it. I just kind of got a feeling.
Hmm.
So,
There you go.
all right, moving swiftly on. Best makeup
Hmm.
and hairstyling. The nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale.
I haven't seen The Whale other than clips of it. And will the transformation of Brendan Fraser into this enormous character? There's a tendency in Hollywood to reward prosthetics. And so I'm going to go with The Whale.
Yeah, I was tempted to do the same thing. I think there's a number of categories. I think this is one, and editing can be one where they seem to nominate sort of the most makeup as opposed to the best makeup.
Right.
And yeah, past experience would say that a big fat suit in a bigger showy performance like that is the way to go. However, something tells me that there's a little bit of a groundswell towards Elvis on this one. I think that
Interesting.
the film is liked more than The Whale. If you see that The Whale didn't get like a Best Picture nomination, whereas Elvis did.
Hmm.
And I think you're going to see Elvis go the way of something like Bohemian Rhapsody a few years ago, and it's going to perhaps pick up more awards than it should. And I think this is going to add to that tally. Okay, next category: Best Costume Design. Nominees are Babylon, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, or Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
When we reviewed Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, I enjoyed the film, but I wasn't a great fan of it. But one of the things I took away from that movie was the outstanding costume design. I thought it was just incredible. And I think there's going to be a desire, the Academy voters, to give Black Panther Wakanda Forever some kind of accolades at the Academy Awards. And I think it could be this category. I'm going to go with Black Panther.
I loved the costumes as well. I remember when we reviewed it, it was one of the things, along with the score, I think it was, that I thought actually really was well done.
Yeah.
However, it got costume design first time out. And I wonder whether, it was Ruth Carter again. And I wonder whether voters will feel that they've given it this award already. Were the costumes in the sequel different enough from those in the first film to warrant a second Oscar for it? And in full disclosure, I haven't seen Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, unfortunately.
I have not either, no.
Now, as much as I would love to see the sausage fingers of Everything Everywhere All at Once going, I think this is another one where Elvis and those sequin jumpsuits might just pull it out of the bag. So yeah, I'm going Elvis again here.
Those pink pants really did it for you, huh?
Don't they do it for everybody? I mean, well, we're going to find out.
Onward and upward.
Absolutely. Okay, best animated feature film. The nominees are Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red.
Interesting. I know that there's been a lot of talking about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but overwhelmingly, there seems to be a lot of love for Puss in Boots, that it tops the sequel. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go with Puss in Boots.
Okay, I think that's more controversial than even you believe it to be. For me, the best movie in this category was Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Okay.
That was just so weird and different and interesting. And I thought early on in the campaign, I was like, this might be the one to beat. However, I think, as you pointed out, the award season has basically given this award to Pinocchio every time. Yeah. And although I didn't love the movie, I found it quite difficult to connect to it emotionally. And there were a few too many sort of fascists in it for my tastes. It does seem to be the way that everybody is going, and I think it's just where the smart money is. So I'm going to go Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, despite not believing it to be the best.
Right.
So next one, best visual effects. I think this is probably one of the most locked in categories of the evening. The nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick.
As much as I love Top Gun Maverick, and I think the visual effects are just stunning, and in the end, it may end up winning this category just because I think a lot of people loved this film this year. It's hard not to bet against James Cameron on this one, so I'm going to go with good brother James there. As much as I wasn't a huge fan of this film, it was stunningly visually, eye candy, and so that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, as I sort of alluded to, I think it's one of the surest bets of the night. For all of its faults, and wherever reservations you may have with the movie, you cannot fault its visual effects. It was absolutely outstanding. I like where you're thinking with Top Gun Maverick, because I think Top Gun Maverick, one of the big snubs of the nominations is that it did not get a Best Cinematography nomination,
right?
And at that time, it was winning every cinematography award, not only getting the nomination, and then all of a sudden it got omitted, and that seemed to change the course. So you're right, there may be a contingent out there that want to award the visuals of the movie and see this as a way of doing that, but it would be an upset, and it would be arguably wrong, if Avatar lost this award.
Yeah, no, I reluctantly agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I do like James Cameron. I don't necessarily love this movie, but I do appreciate his singular vision and determination, and this is where.
But there is something to be said for. I mean, obviously, he's created this great graphic computer effects, essentially, and he's merged and he's developed technologies. But when you think about those fight and flight scenes in Top Gun Navigator, that is just
Top Gun Navigator.
Visually,
What was
Did I
Top
say
Gun Maverick?
Navigator?
You did.
Top Gun Maverick. In Top Gun Maverick, it was just visually stunning. I mean, it was there was no time in Avatar where I just felt like I was on the edge of my seat. It was just kind of like, wow, this is beautiful. Where the visuals in Top Gun Maverick uh were just heart pounding. It was, I would love to actually see Top Gun, the more I talk about this now, take this category and upset it.
Moving on. Best production design. The nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans.
I'm gonna let you go first on this one. I'm trying to
okay
get a read here.
Now, for this one, I believe that it's a film I didn't like particularly, but
You're
the
gonna
one
say
thing
Babylon.
I'm gonna say Babylon.
Say Babylon.
The one thing I did concede about it is that it looked spectacular. And it was all kind of there on screen, you know, in a tangible 3D space. I think if Babylon is going to win anything, and I'm not necessarily saying that it should, I think this is where it's going to have its little moment of recognition. The other films all had very strong production design, but I think there does seem to be a bit of love for Babylon right here.
Yeah. You're right. It's hard to really pick because all 5 of these films could win this award, and rightfully so. But just because, again, I love All Quiet on the Western Front. I enjoy that movie so much. It did so much for me, just in so many different levels, and that's why I had picked it for sound as well, because of that pulsating way that they use sound to create the effect of being on that battlefield. I'm going to go out on another limb and go All Quiet on the Western Front for production design.
It's getting a little shaky out on those limbs, but I hear
go big or go home, because you know what happens when you go out on a limb and you don't kind of choose the favorites. When you hit, it feels good.
Okay, speaking of feeling good, best original song.
Boom. I know which one we're both picking.
Yeah. Okay. So the nominees here are I'll just list the films: Tell It Like a Woman, Top Gun Maverick, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, RRR, and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I really wish I had the technological skills to be able to do a little clip right here where you and our faces are superimposed on Ram Charan and the 2 guys just doing their thing. And, it's not to. Love this song. I know the Rihanna, there is a little groundswell for the Rihanna song, but for me, RRR should have been in the Best Picture category. SS Rajamouli, okay, I still think he should have been one of the top 5 directors, but okay, there's only 5. You're telling me out of 10 films of 2022, RRR couldn't have made that? To me, it was a travesty. I think it's one of the biggest snubs of this Oscar season. And so I think there's going to be a desire to give something to RRR. Now Do Not To is going to be it.
I couldn't agree more for all the reasons you've just said. You're absolutely right. They are contending with Lady Gaga and with Rihanna and with Diane Warren, who's been nominated about 100 times and never won, and David Byrne. But no, I'm totally with you. RRR should have been nominated for Best Picture. It wasn't. It feels like Triangle of Sadness took that spot, possibly even in the Best Director field as well. This is the only nomination it's got. There is so much love for this movie. This feels like the right award to give it, and it's the only opportunity. So yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Okay, Best International Feature Film. All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl.
Ooh. There's people that say EO it could be the year of the donkey. But I don't think so. And as much as I loved Argentina 1985, I don't think it's going to win this category. I think this is going to be the one that All Quiet on the Western Front does take home.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think before these nominations were announced, I would have said Decision to Leave, Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, which was on the short list of 15, which they do for this category, but then sort of quite incredibly was missed out. I have heard that, the arguments for EO, but I don't think they're strong enough or loud enough. You know, there is a passionate little minority there. But yeah, I mean, look at how many nominations All Quiet on the Western Front has got. This one was locked up the moment those nominees were announced.
Yeah, Decision to Leave not being at least nominated in this category, I think, is the second biggest snub of this awards, Academy Awards. But
totally agree.
And Jenny the donkey from Banshees of Inisherin is, you know,
there's already a star donkey. We don't need EO as well.
That's where I was going.
Okay,
next category.
Best editing. Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick.
Ooh. You know, at least 3 or 4 of these movies I could say could take this. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to go with Top Gun Maverick. I think they might pull this one out just for the sheer technical editing, what was done to make this film that pulsating, edge of your seat. This is the film that reminded me why you just love movies, especially in the summertime. Top Gun Maverick was, and I think the film editing had a lot to do with it. I'm going with Top Gun Maverick.
I totally agree with you actually on this one. You know, there has been a little bit of last minute sort of rallying behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, just as that kind of picks up momentum everywhere. And in the Eddies, which is like the Editors Guild, they actually give out 2 awards, one for comedy, one for drama, and they gave one to Everything Everywhere All at Once, but they also gave one to Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
I think anybody who knows anything about editing will be hard pressed not to recognize that Top Gun Maverick exists and succeeds because its editing was so insanely good. I hope the Academy feel the same way. Top Gun Maverick, it is.
As someone who edits deep dive movie reviews, I know what is needed for good editing. I can recognize it, James. I'm there with you, Top Gun, man.
All righty. Okay, so we are on Best Documentary Feature Film. All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and Navalny. Now, I'm just going to jump in and say I haven't seen A House Made of Splinters, but I thought it was an incredibly strong year for documentaries. I remember at one point earlier on in the year, I had 3 documentaries in my top 10 of the year, and 2 of them are on this list. Fire of Love, and also Navalny, which I saw right at the beginning of the year, and it was just sitting there in my top 10 all year. And although All the Beauty and the Bloodshed won Best Film at Venice, you know, and I think it's the first time a documentary has ever won the Golden Lion at Venice. I just think that there is something about Navalny, the subject matter, this sort of anti-Russian sentiment, which I think a lot of Hollywood, if they want to get political about, you know, the war in Ukraine and what have you, here's a perfect opportunity to do it. And it's incredibly sort of entertaining and thrilling as well. It's a fantastic movie, and it won the BAFTA as well. And I think it's picking up some support. I think Navalny's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, I think geopolitics is on Navalny's side as much as I have not watched Fire of Love yet, but I know your recommendation of it. It is on my to watch list. But I just don't think films win sometimes because of the timing, and it's Navalny's timing, and so I think they're going to win. He's going to win that. He's going to win it like he's winning the award himself.
Sadly, he's stuck in a Russian prison, but
unfortunately, which is another thing going for the film itself, actually.
Absolutely. Okay, Best Cinematography. We've already mentioned that Top Gun Maverick was the perceived front runner until it then got snubbed. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar.
Yeah, this is one where I'm going to keep throwing enough All Quiet on the Western Front, and besides best international feature, and one of them is going to hit, and so I'm going with All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm
inclined to agree with you. I mean, I did think Tar looked absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
And actually, all of these movies look gorgeous. Whatever else might be wrong with them. And I am inclined to agree with you. All Quiet on the Western Front. If I think there is an upset to be had, it's Mandy Walker for Elvis. She did just pick up the Cinematographers Guild award, which was a surprise when it happened. I think she's the first woman ever to win it. No woman has ever won this Oscar category, and only very recently have a couple of women even been nominated for it in the last couple of years. So you can never take that out of the equation. That is now in people's minds, and they now have an opportunity to do that. And it's for a movie that is a Best Picture, nominee and will win other Oscars. But on this one, I am in agreement with you. I think All Quiet on the Western Front, that was my foremost takeaway from that movie, was just how gorgeous it looked. And that is not true of Elvis. For all the things I loved about it, it's still in my head. I remember it as being messy visually.
Right. Yeah.
And
well, when you mentioned Tar, even though Tar does not have the spectacle like atmosphere in Elvis or in All Quiet on the Western Front, there was something about the cinematography in Tar that I thought was captivating. I mean, to me, in this category, the two great films are All Quiet on the Western Front and Tar, in my opinion. I enjoyed Elvis, but it wasn't like it's not in that category for me. And it's sad I didn't see Bardo or Empire of Light.
With Empire of Light, you're not missing anything. It's one redeeming factor is its cinematography. Bardo is, although it's on Netflix and should be seen on the big screen, it's worth a look. It's Inarritu who did Birdman and The Revenant. It's worth a watch. Okay, original screenplay: The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness.
As much as I love Banshees of Inisherin, and such the love I have for that film, in my opinion, that should win. But what will win is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, you're probably right. However, I'm kind of just go back the other way. I think most people do love The Banshees of Inisherin, and I think that it's in serious danger of being completely shut out unfairly. And I think that this is an opportunity to reward it in a category where it deserves to win, I think. Maybe this is a little bit of a gamble, but I am going to stick my neck out and say that this is where it will win out over Everything Everywhere All at Once. It won the BAFTA, I believe. It was not eligible for the WGA, so it wasn't even nominated because it was ineligible due to the WGA's bizarre rules, where Everything Everywhere All at Once won. Yeah, but I think.
For me, though, and I want you to be right, but for me, the BAFTAs, they do have an inclination towards that British Irish cinema,
absolutely.
Whereas there hasn't been the love in across the pond with your people for Everything Everywhere All at Once as there is with my people on the American side. And so I'm still going to go with Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I think in the average Academy voter's mind, they're thinking a screenplay, wow, the way it's so convoluted and yet how it draws it all together. I think that's the way they're going to be thinking. It's got all these multiverses, and that's why I think it's going to win, but Banshee should win.
Okay, next category, Best Adapted Screenplay. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking.
I'm going to go I don't even think it's going on a limb, but I think they, because of female director and the subject matter in Women Talking, there's going to be a desire to award this film and give it something. And I think for the same reason you said, Banshees of Inisherin may get shut out, and this is a way of rewarding that film. I'm going to suggest something similar in this category. I think Women Talking may take this category for that very same reason.
I'm going to agree with you in this case. I would love to see Living win. There's the adaptation of the Kurosawa movie Ikiru that we reviewed on this channel. And I think it's a great adaptation of it. And Katsuya Shigeru obviously is a fantastic author. But it just hasn't ever been in the conversation. It's such an outside bet that I don't think it really stands a chance. All Quiet on the Western Front is, a pretty solid prediction. I think the fact that Top Gun Maverick is even nominated in this category bodes really well for how much people really do like Top Gun Maverick just as an Oscar nominee overall. But I don't think this is where it's going to pick anything up. I think it is going to be women talking for the exact same reasons that you said. It's not a film I particularly liked, especially, but it is about something important and done well and made by women, about women, for women. And this is, and I think there is a perception that it should have picked up more nominations across the board. So this, I think, is an opportunity where they really can actually give it something. Okay, Best Supporting Actress. Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I loved Kerry Condon in Banshees of Inisherin, and I think if there's going to be an upset, it's going to be with Kerry Condon winning this, but I'm going to have to go with the odds on this. I think Academy Award voters want to give Jamie Lee Curtis this award. I'm going with Jamie.
It's an absolutely fascinating category. It's kind of the one category where it almost makes it impossible for Everything Everywhere All at Once to win all of its nominations because it has, you know, you have two actresses here. Yeah, they could tie essentially, which would be an insane upset. But this one for me is really, really, really difficult to call. It's between Angela Bassett, Kerry Condon, and Jamie Lee Curtis. I think early on in the process, Angela Bassett was kind of perceived to be the front runner. But I don't see that momentum in the later stages. No. I think there is an anti sort of Marvel superhero movie bias. And I don't think it's like the showy performance that something like Heath Ledger in the Joker as the Joker in The Dark Knight was, or even Joaquin Phoenix in Joker. So I think it's between Kerry Condon and Jamie Lee Curtis, and I just think there is so much love behind Everything Everywhere at Once, and it's the fact that it's Jamie Lee Curtis's first ever nomination. She's a Hollywood royalty. She's been around for so long. I think everybody knows her so well. It's just going to be like, this is your moment. Here you go.
That's it.
It's been a late surge. I'll concede that, but I think it's coming at just the right time, and she's gonna snag it.
No, I agree with you. Angela Bassett was the best thing in Wakanda Forever, but for everything you just said, it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis.
All right, Best Supporting Actor. Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, or Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I think this is probably the most secure category of the evening. And I think you're nodding and agreeing. I think this is going to be Ke Huy Quan's evening. People want him to win it. They loved him in this movie. It's a great opportunity for Academy voters to award an Asian. I believe he's Asian American. Asian American.
He's I think he's Vietnamese American. I think he was born in
Vietnamese, right? And so just for a number of stars aligning for Ke Huy Quan, I think he's going to take home the gold.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the kind of comeback story that they absolutely love. You know, the one sort of bump in the road along the way was the BAFTA, but like you say, they tend to have a British-Irish bias, and it went to Barry Keoghan. I think elsewhere in the competition, Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan have probably been splitting the vote between them, which has been a shame. Judd Hirsch was the best thing in The Fabelmans, but it's not enough. And Brian Tyree Henry, the nomination is the award, as they say.
Sure.
You know, he's fairly new on the scene. He's an up and comer. You know, it's recognition. It's giving him a bit of credibility. He's great, but it's just not the right kind of performance. It's a very kind of subtle, quiet kind of performance. But just establishing him in as a serious actor, it's fine. Ke Huy Quan, all the way. I think you're right. It's the surest bet of the evening. Okay, Best Leading Actress: Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelman, or Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once?
James, this is a 2-horse race. This is the Cate Blanchett, Michelle Yeoh category here. The other three are going to be just happy to have been nominated for the same reasoning that we suggested Ke Huy Quan. I'm going to say Michelle Yeoh. Unfortunately, Cate Blanchett is so good that there's nobody in the Best Supporting Male category that kind of has that competing edge with Ke Huy Quan. And so it's so much more easy to give that as just a given. This one's not a given. Uh, and Kate Blanchett, I think, has, and I think you and I have discussed it, has really almost kept a lower profile as somebody who has won this award a couple times previously. Michelle Yeoh she's never received an Academy Award, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to tip it. I think everybody is reading where this is supposed to go, and that's not to suggest for a moment Michelle Yeoh doesn't deserve it. She was incredible in that film, and I think she's going to get it. But if there's an upset, it's going to be Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was everybody wanted Yeoh to win this year, and then Kate Blanchett just kept winning,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
every ceremony. But like we said, yeah, she's sort of stayed away, kept her head down. It hasn't been campaigning at all. But now it does seem to be turning around, and Michelle Yeoh has been building
Yeah.
up the momentum. Again, like Jamie Lee Curtis, at the right time, I think it really just shows the level of support in the US behind this movie. I think, and I want Michelle Yeoh to win it. I think it would
Yeah,
just be the
yeah.
perfect ending to a great capper to a great year and a great sort of career. The role is so much about her
Mhm.
career and
Yeah,
all the different
yeah.
facets of it that it would just be such a sort of shame if she missed out, and it'd be, and it's thoroughly deserved, and I can feel it. It's
Yeah.
going in her direction.
Well, yeah, I said earlier, timing is always a big indicator on these types of things. In any other given year, Tar and Kate Blanchett would be just a slam dunk. But the timing isn't right. The stars are not quite aligned as much. And I think Michelle's going to take home the gold.
Let's see. Okay, brings us to best lead actor. We have Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living.
I know that the talk of the town is this is an Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser duel here. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm just going to throw one chip on number
One Hail Mary.
27. That's it. That's it. And you know where I'm going with this.
I
I
do.
want Colin Farrell to win. I loved him in that movie, and I enjoyed Austin Butler and Elvis, but it was okay. He did a wonderful job, and I know all the accolades, and I wouldn't disagree with it. But ultimately, it left me a little bit cold. I didn't see The Whale for a number of reasons, even though I had the opportunity to see it. Banshees of Inisherin is my love fest this year, and Colin Farrell, I would love it. I'm just going to go on a limb, Colin Farrell, and we'll see what happens.
I would love nothing more than to agree with you, because I
Mhm.
too, I love Colin Farrell, always have, and I think he's fantastic, and this was a real opportunity for him in a year when it's his first nomination, but it's everybody's first nomination. These are
Mhm.
5 first-time nominees, and actually,
Yeah.
it's crazy the number of first-time nominees there are across the acting categories this year.
Mhm.
Um, Brendan Fraser, it's such a big, stagey, theatrical performance that most years I would point and say, well, that's what's going to win because that's what the Oscars
Yeah.
love. They love a big prosthetics driven,
Benedict.
sort of a
Yeah.
stagey, attention
Yeah.
grabbing, histrionic performance like that.
Gary Oldman is playing Winston Churchill. Give
Absolutely.
give a great actor prosthetics, have him, personify that character. And you're right, they want to award that.
Absolutely. But if you look around at the other nominees, the other nominations that The Whale has got, it's only picked up a couple of others, Hong Chow and
Hmm.
Makeup, and that's it. People don't love that movie.
Hmm.
I'm one of them. I don't love the movie. I think he's
Hmm.
fine in it, but I think the movie's just a big um it's so stagey, it's so over the top, it's so
Hmm.
sentimental, and it's I think it's actually quite exploitative of the issue that it's trying to deal
Hmm.
with sensitively, and I think people are seeing through that. I think in a year when there are a number of options, it's this Elvis kind of groundswell that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I remember saying when Elvis came out, I remember pointing at Austin Butler and saying, if Rami Malek can win for that performance in that movie, which I thought sucked, then Austin Butler, who I think is great in a movie that I think is good, can totally win. And I stand true to that today. And I am saying that now. That should he win? Maybe not. Colin Farrell should win. Will he win? I think he will win.
Yeah.
And I think just everybody loves him as Elvis, and I think
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't really shed that voice yet. You know, he's still he was on Graham Norton, just hey Graham.
It's quite yeah. And he said it's become so much ingrained as part of his sort of public persona that he can't shake it now. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, okay, well
Yeah.
don't let yourself get typecast. All right, moving on. We're nearly there. Best director. So we have
Mhm.
Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Ostlund for The Triangle of Sadness.
I would give again. This is the one that I wouldn't give Martin McDonagh as much as I love the Banshees. I think should win is Todd Fields and Tar, but I think the Daniels are going to pull this off. I think this is their year. There's been a lot of hype about it, and by me saying hype, I don't again mean to denigrate it at all. It's a great film. I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think the Daniels are going to take it home.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that they are this movie. Everything that is so good about this movie is because it's their vision.
Mhm.
They created it out of sort of
Yeah.
nothing. And as good as everybody else is, and I think yes, Todd Field is the next best contender
Mhm.
in this field. I don't think there has been really any serious competition, and since they started winning all the guild prizes
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
picked up the DGA award, it's just like okay, well this one is
Yeah.
in the bag and thoroughly deserved. Whether they end up winning Best Picture or not, Best Director they wholly deserve, and
Yeah.
it'll be great to see them pick it up.
And
Which
that takes
brings us
us to
to Best Picture.
and
So we have 10 nominees. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking.
number 11 RRR.
Well, absolutely. It's it's interesting. So you don't have The Whale in here, for example. I think this is an easy one. I mean, I think you can sort of knock out the ones that aren't going to win. Going through them very quickly. Avatar is not going to win. Triangle of Sadness is not going to win. Women Talking is not going to win. I don't think the Fablemans or Tar
No.
really have. They don't have the representation in other categories, I think, to win. There is always going to be an outside, and I don't think All Quiet on the Western Front. I know it won at the BAFTAs,
Right.
but as we said, the tastes are slightly different. And although it's
Yeah.
picked up a number of craft awards here, I think it's mid-table for everybody. Similarly, I think Elvis is kind of mid-table for everybody.
I was just going to jump in and say, yeah, but the tastes are different. They awarded in the BAFTA the All Quiet in the Western Front, but American audience are going, do we really want a movie about the Vietnam War to be?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think one of the things that we touched on when we did review it is the fact that it is a movie about sort of propaganda and indoctrination, and and that's kind of what makes it relevant. But I don't feel that people love it enough to carry it over the line here at all. Obviously, we need to acknowledge this is the one category where it's a preferential ballot. You don't just pick the winner; you rank all 10. And I think everybody pretty much, I'm wrong, but I think everybody's top 3 is pretty much going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, and Top Gun.
Yes.
And, well, they should be. That should be everybody's top 3. And it's just how that preferential ballot is going to go. I mean, obviously, it's looking increasingly like Everything Everywhere All at Once is just going to run away with it, having done the clean sweep of all the guild awards and what have you. But it's not universal, the love. We've talked about this a few times, that outside of the US, it doesn't have the overwhelming love that it has in America.
Right.
And increasingly in recent years, the Academy is more diverse and is an international body. Now, while Everything Everywhere All at Once represents a lot of those other groups and a lot of that diversity as well, and is a story arguably about diversity and about inclusion, it's an immigrant story. I'm not sure that it's going to resonate with everybody, which just gives a little wiggle room for something like Top Gun Maverick, I say, to kind of filter through. So essentially what I'm coming down to saying is Everything all at Once is going to win, but watch out, if there is an upset, it'll be Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think, and I hate having to say that because I really want to say the Banshees of Inisherin should win this, but I think it is on that list of the top three. I think it's third. And unless there's some kind of in that preferential balloting that just the ball bounces the right way for them, it's going to be, it would be very much a long shot for them to pull it off, as much as I would love to see it happen. Yeah, I think it's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, it's a sound movie, but I watched it a second time and I enjoy it, and it isn't one of my top films of the year, but it doesn't hit me with the love that I have for a couple of the other films, and so I think it's well deserved that they win. But I'm going to agree with you, if Top Gun actually ends up edging it out, I think it's going to be good for the Oscars as well. And I guess I gotta have a caveat with that, because obviously the representation isn't there. With Everything Everywhere All at Once, we're celebrating an Asian immigrant family. But in Top Gun, one of the criticisms, besides just representation with the Academy, is that often they have these little art house films that no one's ever seen, and so ratings are always declining because they're celebrating films that 6 people have watched. And I want to say this category of 10 films is one of the most exciting sets of films I've seen in probably 2, 3, 4 years. I've enjoyed these 10 films more than the Best Picture nominees of years past by a long shot. I wasn't a huge fan of Power of the Dog, whereas I'm coming in, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I loved it. Banshees and Inisherin, loved it. Top Gun Maverick, loved it. And there's a part of me that kind of wants to see Top Gun sneak away with us, especially if the Daniels get their due as the directors.
Right. I mean, yeah, why not sort of, split the wealth, as it were.
Spread the love.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, but when was the last time that the two biggest movies of the year financially, Avatar and Top Gun, were nominated for Best Picture as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is doing what they opened up the category in order to do. It is trying to make it a little bit more audience friendly, a bit more commercial, recognize, in a way, sort of shake off that kind of pretentious stigma of what an Oscar movie was, and they're actually sort of saying, and it is in the interest of diversity and acceptance and inclusion.
Yeah.
It's like there can be other kinds of best pictures. And I know that will be interpreted and should be interpreted in a number of different ways, but that does include, big big popcorn movies like
Top Gun Navigator. Top Gun Navigator.
There you go, yeah. Say it so many times you forget how to speak. But that does include big movies like that, and it's not about dismissing those movies as lesser somehow because they're popular or because they're just seen as entertainment, but it's recognizing craft, and giving it its due. And you got to remember that so much of the Academy body is made up of craftspeople in these unsung disciplines, and has been for decades and decades. So there will be a lot of people who are members of the Academy who are watching a movie like Top Gun and going, that's about time. Of course, everyone's watching Everywhere All at Once and going, it's about time. But there are going to be people watching Top Gun Maverick also saying, and it's about time. It is, quote unquote, the movie that saved cinema during the pandemic, or, at the end of the pandemic, got everybody back into the cinema. Would Avatar have been able to do that the same way? We will never know. But maybe only Avatar could have its success thanks to the foundation laid by Top Gun Maverick, enticing people back. And lest we forget, if Top Gun Maverick were to win, that means Tom Cruise gets his Oscar.
Yes. He's a producer. Yeah.
He is a producer. So he's there with Kristen McQuarrie and Jerry Bruckheimer and David Ellison. He would be there on stage getting an Oscar. And although, he's fallen in and out of favor over the year, I think he's never been as popular today as he was way back in the early 80s. And there's a lot of people who just want to reward him for that.
Hey, but never underestimate those 3-fingered violin players that are going, finally, a movie about us.
This also true. This also true. So, okay. So as a postscript, We have to, because people are going, hey, what about the short films? So yes, of course. We got to very quickly do the short films. Full disclosure, I haven't seen any of them.
Okay.
So pick one.
I haven't either.
Best documentary short film. Have you got the nominees in front of you?
I do.
Best documentary short film. I am going to pick The Elephant Whisperers.
I'm going to go with that as well. Elephant Whisperers.
Okay, I know that it's an Indian movie.
Mm-hmm.
I assume it's about people who whisper at elephants. I'm not going to look into it at all. I'm going purely off what I think I know about it, and that's fine by me. Okay, best animated short film. Have at it.
I gotta go with My Year of Dicks, just because most of these Academy guys are gonna not have seen these either and going, that looks like a cool movie.
Yeah, never shortchange or never underestimate the power of an amusing title. My Year of Dicks. That said, I think I'm going to go with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse because it sounds cute, and the people who watch it may agree.
Yeah.
So we shall see. And then finally, best live action short. We have 5 movies there.
An Irish Goodbye is going to take it.
Okay, I'm going to go.
It's the short version of the Banshees of Inisherin. It's
quite possibly. I'm going to go with Le Pupille because it has recognizable talent attached. Alfonso Cuarón was involved, and people know who that is.
Oh, okay. No, that's an interesting point to raise. Yes.
So purely based on the information on the ballot right there.
Well, that's our pick for this upcoming 2023 Oscars, awarding and rewarding the films from 2022. But what are your picks? We've got a few days until the Oscars are beamed live. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments section below. James?
That's right. We have reviewed a number of this year's Oscar nominees, most of the Best Picture winners, most of the Best International Film nominees. And those videos are all here on our channel. Please do check out some of those for more of our opinions on them, deeper dives on the specific movies. Let us know what you think in the comments there too. Thank you very much.
And right after the Oscars, James and I are going to be doing a recap of the 2023 Oscars. So be looking for that to be uploaded as soon as the Academy Awards are finished.
That's right. We'll be sitting here with a big plate of humble pie as we get everything wrong. And we're congratulating Avatar for winning everything, I suppose.
That's right. I said the Fabelmans, didn't I, James? I said the Fabelmans.
That's right. When it is a clean sweep from the Fabelmans, we can just go, huh. Until then, let us know your picks, your nominees, and we'll see you right after. Until then.
You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice